Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today I'll be trying to bring the all the Guardian article of the Guardian News in less than 5 minutes. That will be really rash, and I'll be trying to do that very fast. Don't get annoyed if I pronounce or this something with some kind of mispronouncements, mispronunciation, something like that. Let's go. Democratic grassroots, motivated by the opposition in the president and the confident of citizen control of the House, if not the Senate, will hope be dashed as they were in 2016 by David Taylor. The article has been brought to press in a side room of the TGI Fridays of US Highway 22nd. The chicken wings are free, and but the beer is not. The talk is optimistic, but the recent memories of vivid disappointment are right there under the surface. Above the bar and subtitled television pundits are previewing tense night on the winner takes all October baseball. In that booth by the window, Democrats have come to meet their candidate. They hope as part of the rising wave set for overwhelm Donald Trump and the Republicans in the midterm elections in November. I am still traumatized by 2016. We are all said social worker Christine Ribaudo, one of the first to arrive of the event to meet from to the Toyin Malinowski, the Democratic candidate trying to unseat Republican Leonard Lance, who has represented New Jersey the seventh congressional district for 10 years. I'm taking nothing for granted this time. And of course, 4 months it had seemed that the political emergency across the U.S. was with the outraged Democrats first. There were strong special election results leaving a trail of clues and traditional Republican heartlands like Kansas, Alabama, Western Pennsylvania. And then there was the emergence of a new wave of highly motivated left-wing candidates such as Alexander Ocasio-Cortez in New York winning primary contest to force out all the male and often more centrist Democrats. After 2 years of protests and actors, Democrats out for the revenge, and they began to dream of neutering Trump by taking back both the House and the Senate from Republican control on November the 6th elections. Each fresh Trump stumble seemed to drive the president's hardcore supporters further on the ground and raise Democratic hopes. Both the ugly battle over the Supreme Court confirmation of Judge Brett Kavanaugh has changed the mood, given an energy boost to Republicans and left Democrats wondering if they might be heading for another soul-crushing result. For Democrats, the comeback has the start in place like this TGI Friday in Springfield, New Jersey, a district that goes from that rural farmland in the West via Trump's expansive Bedminster golf club in middle to the built-up East, where commuters have a daily battle to reach New York City. And exciting, isn't it? Said Ribido. It feels like we are in a very energized district. The district has sent a Republican to Congress for 37 years, but it's one of 25 Republican-held House seats across the United States, where Hillary Clinton bet Donald Trump in 2016 presidential race. The conclusion sounds simple. In 23 of them, and the Democrats would have gained enough ground to take back control of the House. With control of the House, they would gain the power to block, investigate, and even attempt to impeach Trump. And the public confidence in Poland has been sorely undermined since 2016, when virtually every pundit and poll failed to foresee a Trump victory. But in lieu of hard facts, every new poll that indicates a strengthened Republican lead in traditional strongholds like Tennessee and Texas heightens the impression that they have momentum, and makes that Trump is back in full cry night after night, telling his rallies about the danger posed in America by Democrats who he claimed to have become an angry left-wing mob. Trump is exuding triumphalism after Kavanaugh's confirmation and has racked up a few more political wins. Now, a rewritten trade deal with Canada and Mexico, unemployment as a historic low of 3.9%, and the economy growing at 4%. So, is the great democratic surge about to collapse? It's not naturally occurring weather event. We have to make it happen, said Malinowski, like the Democratic candidate in New Jersey who once served in Barack Obama's State Department. Quote, it's not something any responsible candidate in a swing district can count on. We have to do it ourselves, one congressional district at a time. And cautious and careful in his answers. The Polish born former Washington director for human rights watch thinks he's right. His race is first and foremost about economic issues. Trump's tax reforms will hit these districts of middle class homeowners who face new limits on reclaiming their high local state taxes. The quote: "No one person, no sane person with recent American political history in mind would be too confident, but it feels like a very close race, and I think that also will inspire people to turn out. Most Americans live in the congressional district where you know who's going to win," he said. That this is one of the few where the outcome is in doubt, and therefore our votes count for more. There is a scenario where this district tips the balance in Washington. I think that will inspire people to come out. End of quote. Let's go further. And getting out the vote is crucial because turnout is notoriously low in the midterms and presidential election years usually see around 60% of Americans showing up to vote, whereas in the midterms it's a struggle to hit 40% turnout. Two fragments of evidence are encouraging Democrats to believe their voters are ready to turn out this November in the numbers that make it feel more like a presidential election. And first, the number of registered Democrats in the district has increased by 33,000 since 2014. The same pattern is visible in at least 19 key seats across the country. Then the other women for most part for most of the two seats since Trump won the presidency, it has become obvious that women have been highly organized in their opposition to him and his policies. Many more women in running for the office are finding direction and purpose through the work and grassroots groups that did not exist in 2016. Take the freelance editor and the mother of two, Lillian Duggan. 5 years of 5 days after Trump's win, she set up a Facebook group in her hometown that has become a grassroots community advocacy organization with a board of 9 women, a weekly newsletter that goes to 450 people, and more than 2,300 members on social media. The God has a modest history of activism and mostly phone calls in aid of Obama and Clinton campaign, but has had I'm sorry, but has had the life taken even by the group. And Westfield 2020 with this, which has lobbied politicians at the state level. Democrats and demonstrated outside Lance office helped flip the Westfield Town Council out to Democratic control and is now active in getting votes out. Quote, "We have a chance of winning," she said. "The polls seem to be a deadbeat, but we are trying not to pay any too much attention so that polls can make wrong as well as learned a couple years ago. We know it's easy for us to feel the energy, see the signs up on laws on our towns and feel very positive, but the reality is we are not representative of the entire district. There are places that are more conservative. In Warren counties, Washington Township, once a hub of musical instrument manufacturer, and the Washington Diner served with the American classic along above the CNN and Fox News on screens above the counter. But at the other hand, on the other end of Washington Avenue, there was such a bipartisan spirit on show, and Mena Shadows, 70 years old, and Jennifer English, 50, were staging a pro-life vigil outside the Planned Parenthood clinic where they intended to have a presence for 40 days as part of the global anti-abortion campaign. Both women voted for Trump. Now, there is a lot of things he doesn't need to say. This is the quote. He's got a big mouth, but I think he genuinely cares for people. English said. He is certainly not perfect, but I do believe his heart is in the right place, but he stayed faithful to the pro-life cause. End of quote. Asked about the likelihood that a Democratic surge in November, Shadow said, "I don't think that it's going to happen at all. The media see that they want to see, and the reason that Trump has carried over," she said, emphasizing that he is a businessman and not a politician, and has done in his office in office what he said he would. And that's a lot of he said. And I'm sorry if that's not what you wanted to hear. Let's go on some further. In suburban parts of major U.S. cities, college-educated women are seen as a potentially decisive force that could help Democrats make genius in the House, make gains in the House, in governors' races, and in state legislatures. However, the Senate is a much harder proposition for the Democrats, even though Republicans hold a seemingly tenuous 51 to 49 grip on power. Just 35 Senate seats are being fought this year, and 26 of them are being defended by Democrats. So there are more opposition, opportunities for defeat than victory. The terrain is tough too. 10 of those Democrats are battling for keep seats in areas where Trump won 2016, including 5 states where he won by more than 19%. As Charlie Cook, editor of the Cook Political Report, put it, quote, "It's like there are two different elections taking place. One of the House governor state legislature, where there is a very clear blue wave out there for the Democrats, and I think the Dems are going to have a really, really good year. In the U.S. Senate, it's like that the election is being held in a different country and a different year. You have a really big wave, but for that wave to reach West Virginia and Indiana, North Dakota, that's kind of hard." And the quote. And Cook is tipping the Democrats to make gains on between 25 and 45 states to make control of the House. And midterms are always a referendum on the presidential, usually offer a negative judgment, especially when the president's approval rating is low. In 2010, when the Tea Party wave gave President Obama's shellacking in the midterms, approval rating was down to 44%, and Republicans picked up 64 House seats. Trump's approval rating is currently 42%. And the money matters too. And Democratic candidates are ostracizing outraising Republicans in dozens of House races, limiting the ability of conservative dark money from super PACs being used to overwhelm them. Quote, "Now this blue wave is turning into a green avalanche in Dems or burning Republicans in cash. Their fundraising has shattered records," David Wasserman of the Cook Political Report said. And this is the end of today's newspaper recital, and the article has been delivered from the Guardian. Thanks if it has taken your interest for watching.